Thank you all for joining here. Going to give this a couple minutes to let a few more people log on, and then we can get underway. Just as kind of a way to set up kind of the call here. So we are, really excited to have you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time. We've got an hour scheduled here. I don't know if we're going to need the whole time, but want to make sure that we can allow for any questions that come up. So I have a brief presentation just to share a little bit more of the details. You may be aware of them already, but hopefully it will just serve as a reminder. Then we have a few other people from the new apprenticeship team that are going to be joining. So Craig is here. He is our program manager for the data program. So he'll be able to answer some questions and provide some insight. Aaron's here on our marketing team as well to be able to support. So we will have plenty of time for Q&A. If you see some questions, or if you have some questions during the presentation, there's a little Q&A section, a little Q&A button within your Zoom window down there. If you could ask it there, it's going to help us just keep track of it, make sure we answer all of that. We're also at we have a smaller group here today, which is great. So I want to, if you'd prefer to ask the question aloud, I can add you to basically enable you to be able to talk, on video if you prefer to. So pretty informal format here, but like I said, really hoping that can answer some of the questions and provide some insight to see if this makes sense for y'all to move forward in this in the apprenticeship. All right, well, I am going to get started here and share a presentation. I promise I will be brief. Okay, so here we are. You all know this by now, but we are new apprenticeship. And what I wanted to take a first minute or two to talk through, I think you probably have a sense of what we do, but I think it's really important that we go over why we do what we do. And that's because the system that has been out there, that has been in place for decades now for hiring talent, just doesn't work. It artificially throws up barriers that aren't a reflection of the candidate, and then everyone talks about how there's this tech talent gap, right? There's this crisis in talent, and we're of the opinion that it is a sort of self-inflicted wound. It's there's only a crisis in talent because the right people aren't getting opportunities for it, and that's what we do. I think is provide those opportunities, provide a pathway. You'll hear us talk about that. You'll see this in the presentation, but provide a pathway for people to be able to start a tech career. And so that's why we do it. And we do it through apprenticeship. So this pathway that I was talking about, right? This is, we're kind of that bridge. We work and serve people who are coming from typically non-traditional backgrounds, likely didn't have any experience formally in tech, haven't attained a bachelor's degree, maybe coming from military, coming direct from high school, or started in the workforce and have got some great work experience in a non-tech career, but decided that you want to transition. And so that's just some of the people that we serve. And we do that through kind of two parts. The first part is a pre-employment boot camp that's really focused in on gaining the really core technical skills to be able to start successfully in a role on day one. And then that role, that apprenticeship role, which is a full-time job with a partner company, in this case, the organization is Infosys, where you're earning a salary, getting that experience, which we know is so valuable, while also continuing to get mentoring, coaching, working on additional certifications, all to really accelerate your earning potential. So that's kind of the pathway of the next, call it 15 months or so. And then afterwards, you graduate from the program, you become a fellow, but most importantly, your resume now, you have a year plus experience at a global, Fortune 100 company in the tech consulting sphere. You've got these additional certifications. You really have the ability to move up within the organization or into other organizations. And so that's what we really are trying to do with this apprenticeship is accelerate, not only start, but accelerate your careers. So everyone here, which is the great part, is that everyone's kind of already started, should have already gone through the application process at various stages. And so this shouldn't be, I don't think this would be too much a surprise, but just want to review it again. Having a high school diploma or an equivalent is necessary, as well as the ability to work in the US. Since we are an apprenticeship, right, that work experience is necessary. And then the other piece is really the some foundation in Python. And so I know some might be really like, I don't know Python, I don't really know programming, I don't have any experience in that. And that's okay, right? We try to create again, a pathway for people who don't have that experience to be able to quickly upskill by doing some free coding lessons or coding projects. We try to provide those resources. And so definitely want to create that exposure. And if you realize that you like it, which a lot of people end up liking, you've got this way to now quickly upskill using all of the resources that New provides, instructors, Craig here, coaches, support team. It's a pretty cool deal. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the prior slide, but there's nothing out of pocket. So that's all. The program is paid for through basically a grant, from grants and from the employers as a benefit, because they're realizing benefit out of this as well, because you're coming in and training on some specific things that are going to be able to apply on the job on day one. So that's kind of the criteria needed. Here's a little bit of the timeline, right? We have a boot camp pre-employment training that's 8 weeks long, 12-month apprenticeship that follows, a full-time employment, and that you can see that continues to go. So it doesn't just stop at 12 months. It's not a contract base. You're a W-2 employee, salary, benefits, all that good stuff. And then there's this continuing learning and education, right? It's part of what we build into the model. It's part of what we try to build into each of our day-to-day lives as we're working and continuing to grow. And so we do have an articulation agreement with a university called Southern New Hampshire University, whereas after completing the apprenticeship through some of the certifications and the work that you've done, you would be able to get up to 27 credit hours towards a bachelor's degree in IT or data. So it's a pretty cool deal, and really cost effective, right? I mean, thinking about just the value in getting up to that many credit hours that you have to pay if you went through a typical university setting, there's a lot of value there. So we really want to help kickstart or help accelerate that attainment of a bachelor's degree in the future as well while you're working. So the next bootcamp cohort starts on the 18th. So I think that is a week from this Monday. So still plenty of time if you are looking to get started here soon. Expectations, really, it's intense learning, right? Especially I think if you haven't had any of that programming background, it can be something where you really need to focus in. This is not like a light learning of, kind of show up once a week and then take your time. It's pretty intense. And I don't want to scare anyone by saying that. I just want to set the right expectations. Also, the other thing I'll say, I see Craig nodding his head here, right? He knows we have a really great support team. So not only Craig, but coaches, instructors. It's designed for, and not designed for, we've had many people who've come in without programming experience be able to successfully complete the program, start the apprenticeship, and then graduate on afterwards. And so it is built for people to be successful. This is another little journey map. A couple things I want to call out here. The completion of boot camp does not necessarily does not guarantee employment. What it does is we guarantee an interview, and we can support you. There's actually opportunities to be re-interviewed again if it doesn't work. But really, I just want to call that out. This is not a promise of a job. And so while we do see a lot of successful outcomes, there may require, like I said, retraining to re-interview. So I just want to be very clear up front with that. But then those that do successfully land the job, they start the apprenticeship. This is over the 12 months. There's coaching, which we think is really a differentiator for what we do. Not only technical skill development through certifications, but leadership skill development. There's a certification, which I'll talk a little bit more on in a second here. And then I mentioned continued employment and continued education. So here's a little bit more about the pre-employment boot camp. 8 weeks. It is about 15 to 20 hours per week of remote video sessions. It's a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern time. And these are some of the topics that are covered here in the boot camp. So I'm not going to get too much detail of those, but you can just get a little sense of what those topics are that you'd be doing during those 8 weeks. And then the apprenticeship is really similar. The time investment is a little bit scaled down because we recognize that you're going to also be working those full-time jobs in the career and getting a lot of experience through that hands-on. But a handful of certifications here, including one from the U.S. Department of Labor for an apprenticeship completion, and then some additional curriculum highlights here as well. Want to talk a little bit about the role too. So as the apprenticeship is, the job is such a big part of it. And we mentioned that it's going to be with Infosys. The role itself would be as a data engineer. A couple call outs here. Number one, all those roles now are transitioned back to being on site. So when you started the application process, it should have asked you what location or locations you were able to be able to show up to in office if accepting the job. So if you have any questions or concerns on that, definitely email, let us know. We can talk about it, but that's something that at least for the foreseeable future, those will be all on site in the office. So here are a few of the responsibilities that would be in the data engineer. One of the cool things I think about Infosys is that because it is so large, they are many teams in which you can join. And so the process is as you complete the boot camp, interview, accept the job, you start to do some of the Infosys's internal training. And as you're doing that, your profiles are created, and different managers or different groups within the organization can kind of see your background, your skills, your certifications, everything like that, and then kind of determine if they can pick you on their team to join and support a client. And so because there are many clients and many teams, these responsibilities may change, but this should give you a decent understanding of what some of those day-to-day roles might be, or responsibilities would be. And then last slide here, next steps, right? If depending on where you are within the process, there may be submitting the project that I mentioned for Python. You may also just need to contact us to schedule an interview, which you should be getting an email soon if you haven't already, as an opportunity to schedule that. Or if you've already gone through that whole process, but you're kind of on the fence so far, and you decide that you want to move forward, we have a what's called an apprenticeship agreement, where we send out to you to confirm your seat, just outline some of the details that I just spoke about, sets the expectations, let you know there's no cost associated with it, but I think that's but that would be the next step, again, depending on where you are. One other thing that I do want to call out, I breezed over this at the very beginning, but again, just to be transparent and set expectations, the salary for the job, and I want to call this out because this is typically between $35,000 and $45,000. And so depending on what your background is, your certifications, right? You might be thinking like, oh, okay, I should be a little bit higher. What we do, I think, what the kind of the thing that I would ask that you guys consider, if that is the case, is that this apprenticeship, right, the tuition being an additional benefit. So getting these certifications, the training for it while you're getting the experience, it is probably an investment on your end. But at the end of that year, when you come out with all these different things, there are certainly be recouped in future earnings. And so that would be, again, something just to call out as you're considering whether you want to move forward or not. So that is all here. I'm going to stop sharing here and want to open it up to any questions. And again, you can either use that chat, or if you want to raise your hand, and then I can ask you, or can enable you to answer your question live. All right. The first question I see here is the instructions for the Python project. Yes, I think, Aaron, if you're able to send that in the chat to everyone, you will be able to see sort of our admissions project page, and that will have all the steps necessary to complete that project. I have some hands raised here, so let me go to looks like Damon. If you should be able to unmute now and ask your question. Damon, are you able to?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Good.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing?
Great. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. My question, I'm not sure if I want to do data analytics. I currently, do you know if you guys are partners with Amazon?
So we are a Amazon authorized training provider.
Okay.
And so we do have, we don't currently have a program for AWS, if an AWS apprenticeship, but we plan on restarting that soon.
Okay.
If
do
that's,
you know, yeah, that's what I'm thinking I want to do, because I want to stay with Amazon too. It's a good company, but.
Yeah, and so so just to be to be clear on the actual employing company for AWS, the employer wouldn't be Amazon. We are just an Amazon authorized training provider. The employer would be Infosys or potentially other employers who are looking for cloud talent trained specifically on the AWS cloud.
Okay. Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah. Well, great. And Damon, if you want to, we can follow up afterwards and kind of talk through the timing and things like that for AWS, if that's of interest.
Okay. Yeah, I'm keeping my options open right now. Yeah.
Great.
Sorry to change the.
No, it's good. It's a great question. I want to be, we want to provide people as much information so that they can make the right decisions for themselves.
Right. Okay. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, of course. Let's see. I'm going to enable another question here. There we go. Hopefully I don't want to butcher this name. Abimbola?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I felt I was the only one here.
No,
Okay.
it's a weird, these Zoom webinars, it makes it feel like sometimes you're the only one there, but yeah, I'm glad we're getting to get some live questions here.
All right, so I have a few questions. I have a bit of experience in database management and administration. I'm not yet done with my associate degree. I took a break from school, so I have a bit of experience in Linux as well. I have a certification on that, but I've not done anything on Python. I've not tried anything on Python. So my question is, for somebody that is new, do I have a video to watch on Python? Do I have something to learn? And what are my hopes? Do I have any hopes? You know, that's my
Yes.
question.
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So I want to I'm going to show you I'm going to share screen here for a second and show you what we have on our as part of the project. And so I mentioned, right, if you don't have that, that we try to provide some resources. So hopefully you guys can see this now. This is what the sort of the overview of the project and what the deliverable is and how to submit it. But here are some of the resources that we have. So as part of some of it is we're just kind of curated what we think are going to be the most helpful from resources that are out there. So things from LinkedIn Learning, some additional videos here utilizing Python Anywhere or python.com to test your code. So I think this has been pretty successful for folks who are just learning, especially if you're coming in with, you mentioned Linux and some other database background. I imagine you'll pick it up pretty quickly because, I'm not a programmer, but I know that the feedback we're getting from our instructors and from a lot of people within our subject matter experts is that Python is really a friendly language to be able to pick up and learn and super powerful. So this would be the spot to at least go to see the resources that we provide. And then, if you find that insufficient or you want to get some other ones, you can just always email us and, I'm sure Craig might have some additional resources, or we can talk to our instructors to see, hey, what's going to be the best thing to be able to prepare.
Okay. So after this assignment, do we have a score? Is there a score for the assignment? What if I didn't meet up the score? Am I doing it again?
Yeah, so basically what after you submit the project, we'll review that, and then typically we'll then go and set up a time to interview with the team. So you'd have a 30-minute interview with someone on our admissions team, just to go through some of your background and just kind of make sure that the apprenticeship seems like a good fit. And then after that, typically you get a kind of admittance decision within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thanks for the great question. I see there are a couple questions in the Q&A that I want to get to. So one is determining the range, the salary range between the 35 to 45,000, and that's a great question. And so it comes down to really the difference between having an associate degree or not having an associate degree, essentially. The way that the emphasis kind of internal salary ranges, it's still based somewhat on attaining some of that formalized education. So those without a associate degree, I believe, would start in the 35 at 35, and then those with an associate degree have either a $40,000 or $45,000 $40,000 or $45,000 salary range, depending on one is kind of a senior and one is a more junior within that level. So hopefully that helps. I do have a couple other questions here I want to get, and then I see another raised hand. So a question around relocation. Unfortunately, we do not help with any relocation. Depending on where you're located, there may be some services through a local workforce board. We try to partner with it, but that is, I don't want to promise that, and I would say the expectation is that there's not relocation assistance provided. We also have another question about having to relocate. We have a choice in location. Yes. So when you submit your application through New, and we ask for what location or locations you're interested in, that kind of guides us to be able to know what and when to start you within the program here. So what you'll do at the end of your boot camp is you'll actually formally apply to Infosys on their site. And as part of that process, they will give you the choice to apply to locations that they have open. All right, I want to get to a raised question here. I think that came up. And then, did I lose it? Okay, I think we had a raised question.
Yeah, hey, sorry, you just answered it. I was around the what site on site. So I saw the Emphasis had a location in Houston. So, but you just kind of answered my question.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Excellent. No problem. That's great. Okay, I also have a question around the success rate for students in the program. That is a really great question. So I'm going to answer this, try to answer this from memory here, into the exact specifics of it. And then I can maybe do some quick research to get the exact. But we have a few different points where we've seen people drop out of the program. So within the first 2 weeks is one part where we see people drop. And it typically is that, they something came up or they realized this isn't really what they want to do. They weren't expecting it to be, as intense as it is, or for a variety of reasons, right? So I think that is about, we'll see about 10 to 20% of people kind of elect to drop out of the program then. After that point, we see actually a really high success rate to complete the rest of the boot camp. And so I think that is averaging somewhere like the 85% of those who make it after the first couple of weeks to be able to complete the boot camp. So that's, then we have those that interview. And so the interview selection rate, the interview offer selection rate is hovering around 60%. It can go 60 to 70 is pretty much the average. Yeah, I think there are times when it's higher, and I think once where it dipped below that 60%, but I would say that would be 60, 70% of those that complete the program, the boot camp, receive an offer for starting the apprenticeship job. We have a question around no coding experience at all. And actually, we have, I mentioned one of the other people on our call, Aaron, who is on our marketing team, had no coding experience either coming into this, and as part of her onboarding and to sort of help be able to guide people through this whole process, we had her do not only some HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but also the Python project as well, going through the resources. And so, Aaron, I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot here if you're able to talk about that experience, or if not, I can kind of go based on other people who have gone through the program.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to speak to that. And actually, guys, I'm going to pop a resource that I put together as I was going through the Python project into the chat in case that's helpful. But yeah, really my experience, I think at first looking at the project, I was a bit intimidated because I don't have any coding knowledge. I'm a marketing professional, so it was really unrelated. But I found the project to be more of a course that's really user friendly, and it's the resources provided within the project instructions are really just there to walk you through all of the steps. So I really didn't feel like I was, on my own to figure it out. It was really easy to follow along with the videos and things like that. So I would encourage you at least to give it a try and just see what it's like. I know sometimes just looking at a project outline can be intimidating, but if you just take the first step, then you'll get the hang of how it works. And it's really, like I said, they just walk you through. So it's pretty easy.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem.
And yeah, Aaron's been telling me, like, you shouldn't call it a project, because while it kind of is, it's really more of like a it's not like a timed thing. It's more of, definitely have to demonstrate the competency in it, but hopefully we do a good job of really, like Aaron said, kind of walking you through, providing those resources to be able to do it if it's something that you really want to do.
Yeah, exactly. The way I see it is like more like an intro course to just give you some really like basic foundational knowledge that you can use going into the boot camp.
Awesome.
Matt, I don't know if you saw, but there is a question in the chat. Someone who lives in Atlanta wondering if they'd be able to train in their city for emphasis. I'm not entirely sure the answer to that question. So
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron, for calling that up. And so specifically Atlanta for the data program, I don't think that would be a possibility right now. I know we do have for our IT program, I think we may have a few seats left for Atlanta to be able to start, but it's a little bit of a different program, right? It focuses on development in the ServiceNow platform. So if you want to, my best recommendation would be if you're looking for something specific to Atlanta right now, and that would be something that you're interested in, you can email us and let us know, or email us and then kind of say, hey, what's the best next step to be able to try to start in that program? Because unfortunately, I think the last option for Atlanta, at least in the next 3 months, we'll be starting this upcoming Monday. So we're really running low on time on that one, if that's something you want to do. We have another question around the hours and the times for boot camp. So let me share screen again here just to that will help reinforce the just kind of show this visually, but Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And so you asked the question, I think, around also, is that mentor? Is it sort of self-learn? It is, well, you've got one of your sort of mentors here in Program Manager Craig, who maybe Craig, I can let you jump in here since I'm just doing all the talking. But kind of give a little bit more around that support during the boot camp.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so it is online. All of it's online. It's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for a couple hours each session. And in those sessions, you're going to have instructors, and then you're going to have weekly meetings with your coaches. And we're just a team of mentors in a support network to get you what you need to get across the finish line for this program.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Craig. And I just answered a question in the chat, but I want to just kind of reiterate in case not everyone will be able to see that, is that we do not have any remote options available at the moment. So while we're hoping to add some in the future, we've really seen most of the organizations that we're working with doing in person or potentially a hybrid, but still wanting to have those in-person element at least as part of it. These are all really great questions. I really appreciate them. We don't have any questions. I don't see any other questions in here, but maybe Craig, I can give you, in the meantime, as we're waiting some questions, just sort of your perception, or you're kind of, you joined the team recently and are just getting acclimated in it. So I'd love if you wanted to share any observations or things that have stuck out to you as you've started really immersing in the apprenticeship.
Okay, well, thank you. Hey, everybody, forgot to say this, welcome. But this is an opportunity. It's a win-win for everybody here, and especially you guys out there. Just words of encouragement is to hold on to your why, find your reason for being here. And, the hardest part of any academic journey is just going to be that sacrifice, discipline, and time management to stick to it. As Matt said earlier in that PowerPoint presentation, it's going to be about roughly 15 to 20 hours a week. In a nutshell, it's going to be a part-time job, but as Matt said in the PowerPoint, it's going to be a full-time mental job. Absolutely. But, if you, again, I just go back to, is the sacrifice going to be worth it? And why are you here? There's a reason why you're here, and use that as your North Star as you're progressing through this journey. And most importantly, lean on us for support through this journey. Your instructors, we're all here again to help you achieve your dream.
Yeah, well said. And I think just reiterating, right, that I mentioned, someone asked around the likelihood of success, and I mentioned that first 2 weeks being really challenging. We see that it's those that don't think they need help or are afraid to ask for it. And they don't raise their hand, and then it starts to snowball, feeling more and more behind, and then the people just say, I can't do this, I can't catch up. So as Craig said, right, like utilize the support team that we have here to be able to help you get through that initial hump, and then it all just, the momentum continues to build on itself. All right, we have another question around a likelihood to move forward with a bachelor's degree. The likelihood, if it's a U.S. bachelor's degree, we don't have any of the opportunities to move forward at this time. I apologize. If it is a foreign bachelor's degree, there are kind of exceptions that can be made, in which the degrees are treated a little bit differently, but if you have a sort of more traditional 4-year U.S. bachelor's degree, you would unfortunately be ineligible for this apprenticeship here. See another question coming in. So a question around the career paths that this would open up. And Craig, you might be able to speak to this more than I can, as far as on the data, data apprenticeship. I mean, I can tell you just from my experience, I'm a marketing background, but the ability, there are marketing organizations and teams are always looking for people with data background. So you talk about even just data visualization, being able to work in analytics. That is one path. I wouldn't say it's the primary one, but I can at least speak from my profession that we're always looking for people who are really data savvy. I know that there's a lot of overlap in so many areas. So I don't know, Craig, if you want to try to fill in some gaps here of what you've seen.
Yeah, for our learners here, really not. I mean, the opportunities are out there. My encouragement, and I always encourage all my learners, is to take a look at the whether it's Indeed, Monster, those ZipRecruiter, those jobs, those headhunter jobs out there, and just see what's offered. Type in your experience or your job title that you're looking for, and focus on that. Like Matt said, the apprenticeship thing with InfoSystem is about 60% roughly, but that's getting your foot in the door. That's getting you the experience to get that on your resume to make yourself more productive, not productive, but more profitable out there in the marketplace. I hope that answers your question or sheds some light on it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen so many, so many times that you guys have probably all experienced this as well, right? If it's so difficult to break into any job because people want to know that you have experience, and regardless of what that experience is, sometimes, right, to show that you've worked at an organization with 250,000 employees globally, that will open doors. And so it might not be as seamless. You might have to go and say, all right, I need to get this other certification if I want to make a transition over to here, or I really need to focus in on something else, some missing piece that would help me to make that kind of jump elsewhere. It makes it just entirely feasible because you have that year plus on your resume. All right, I answered this in the chat as well, but I see it in the Q&A. So the locations, and maybe I'll just do it a larger scale for this answer. And so the locations that we have for the data apprenticeship coming up here are in Tempe, Arizona, Indianapolis, Indiana, Hartford, Connecticut, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Dallas, Texas. Yeah, I have we see another question in the chat around in Charlotte, the future start date, so I can prepare to relocate. Yes, so the Charlotte, I'm not sure exactly how far Raleigh is. If it's, I think it's like an hour or so. One of the cool things about, like, you wouldn't need to relocate until after you've accepted the job. So you'd be getting a job offer first. You would be able to see, okay, great, I know I'm going to have this income coming in. At that point, you can make a decision to you would make the decision to relocate. So you're not taking any risk necessarily in moving before you get that offer, but it is something that is great to start to think about and prepare yourself for, so that, like, coming in expecting that offer, being able to then relocate to, in this case, it'd probably be Raleigh, or at least its closest location to you. Yeah, really great questions. I do think I'm going to confirm this really quickly, but I believe, in addition to the locations that I just mentioned, if we have anyone in the Pacific Northwest or interested in potentially relocating there, we're going to be adding in Bellevue, which I think is right on the outside of Seattle, as one of the locations for next month cohort launch. So in case anyone here is in that area or had been itching for a way to get there, this would also be a good opportunity. All right, I see another hand raised here. Go. All right, Trevor, can you hear us all right?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I'm actually in Tucson, which is about maybe 2 hours away from Tempe. And I just wanted to know, as far as meeting at the location, how many times a week would we have to do that?
Yeah, I would prepare for 5 days. Unless
Okay.
specifically there's a hybrid ingredient or a hybrid that comes as a possibility, but I can't guarantee anything. So I would really just go in with the expectation that, hey, this is Monday through Friday, 5 days a week in office.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. I had another question in the Q&A around the college credit hours received. And so, yeah, it was through through Southern SNHU, Southern New Hampshire University. And essentially there's up to 27 credit hours based on some of the certifications and things that you'll be doing over that apprenticeship program, where you'll be able to, at the end of it, demonstrate that you've earned those certifications, and which will translate directly to credits towards that bachelor degree. Another great question that I didn't answer earlier is that asked if you're getting paid for boot camp. Unfortunately, no. The boot camp is really it's really designed for you all individually, and while it's working towards the goal of being ready for that employment, it's not client work. It's not anything really billable, and so really the value in there, of course, is in the learning, but in the resources that you're getting, the certifications, the test costs, and things like that. Those are provided throughout the program, so that's where you're probably getting the most value rather than a direct pay or stipend. follow-up question to that one, the boot camp. So the boot camp is all remote. So, you know, if you guys decide, hey, this is something you want to do, you'd be joining sessions like this maybe, where a little bit larger, but they're going to be run by an instructor. You'll have access to Canvas, which is our learning management system that goes through and kind of outlines each of the different modules, kind of says, okay, here, great, here are the assignments, here are the things you need to do before session. Then you guys meet together. These are between 6:30 and 8:30 Eastern time on Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So then you'll kind of connect as a cohort, be led through these exercises or discussions, and then kind of in between those sessions, there'll be work that you need to do in order to keep up. But that's where the kind of 15 hours a week of sort of total time input between the lives or the remote sessions here, video sessions, and then additional preparation and follow-up would come in. Yeah, a great question around the foreseeable future, other companies. Yes, so that is absolutely our goal. What we've seen right now is that we have kind of one-off opportunities coming in with different employers who are coming in and say, all right, we were looking for people here in this occupation or these locations. When those come up, if they fit where you guys are at, we'll absolutely put you up for those interviews as well. But we're also working with a number of very large organizations that would be requiring apprentices more on the scale of what we're seeing with Infosys. And so we hope that those will come soon. I would say probably within 3 months, within the next few months, we should be seeing 1 or 2 more of those come in. But at this point, it would be a little premature to speculate, where and what occupations. And so my guess, if you don't see something that really fits or aligns right now, I hope that you can continue to keep us in mind, keep checking back so that we can, as we offer additional opportunities, that we can provide those to you and see if it fits. A question around a current enrollment within a university, if that would cause an eligibility issue. So that would not, depending on the only potential issue would be one of time, because the apprenticeship, or at least the boot camp, right, is as Craig was saying, right, is pretty intensive. And if you're going to school, if you're going to boot camp, if you're working a part-time or full-time job, that would be one of the things that I'd ask everyone to consider, in addition to not only just formal schooling and things like that, but what other life obligations do you have, right? Do you have the time and space to be able to do this? And not to deter anyone, but just really to make sure that you ask yourself these questions as you're coming in, so that you can be successful in the program. Question around if you've already submitted the project, you would not have to submit another one. So if you're unsure of where you are kind of in the process, and you're like, hey, I want to move forward, but I'm not sure what the next step is, definitely send an email. I'm going to put it in the chat, so that we can just basically look up where you are individually, and then provide a customized next step. The email is admissions@newapprenticeship.com. All right.
I'd like to go back to that previous question here, Matt, if I could.
Yeah, please.
With regards to dual enrollment with a college in here, just keep in mind that here during the boot camp sessions, you're only authorized 3 excused absences. So keep that in mind when you're making your decision as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, if there's a recurring conflict that you have, it's unfortunately, it's not really possible because we think that the live sessions, right, that's where the most value comes from. There's a ton of great resources online, millions of YouTube videos, it seems, LinkedIn courses, all the things that you can do sort of asynchronously and learn. But this program is not one of those, right? There's that element to it, but it's really the value of being able to interact with your cohort and with an instructor live to be able to quickly push through any impediments you might have that makes it why we have these attendance to these sessions mandatory. Great. These are really great questions. And I appreciate everyone sticking around here too. I know we've been already 50 minutes in, and it's really cool to, hopefully this has been really helpful and to see so many people staying on through the end of this. Might see if there's any more questions here. I might give it a minute, but otherwise we want to give you back some time in your day. So let's see. Do you have any, quick raise your hand or throw it in the Q&A. And while I'm waiting for that, I just want to again say thank you so much for joining us. It's been really great. I love doing these info sessions because you're able to communicate so much information so quickly, and the questions that each of you asked, I think, have been really beneficial for everyone in attendance. It's cool that you got to meet Craig here as your program manager and hear a little bit about from our team. But I guess my kind of closing piece here is that if there's one thing that I think our team is really excellent is that we really care. We're all really passionate about this mission, and it is challenging. It is while we want to create a we want to create a pathway to be able to start in tech. It's not an easy. It's nothing given. It is all worked hard for, and I think the fact that you guys are all here, even and asking these questions and considering this is a testament to that perseverance, and that would be necessary to initially break through. But my goodness, we've seen some really, really amazing stories of apprentices who were in your shoes, a year or two ago, have gone through, and now they've already finished the program, and they're moving up in emphasis, or are just moving up and taking these roles in other organizations that are just life changing, right? So just want to say thank you again. I see one last question here, and just around the timing. So if you wanted to move forward, I would need to apply to the program. Yes, I would say if you want to move forward, at least for this July 18th cohort launch date, if you could get that application in or email us, let us know what the next step would be for you to move forward, because we want to make sure that we enable enough time to get you set up correctly, and you're set up for success when you start this program. Well, thank you, everyone. Craig, anything, or Aaron, anything else to add to here before we let them get out?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. As I said, if you have any other questions after this ends, you can use that email, the admissions@newapprenticeship.com. We'll be able to provide you really a customized answer as to what your next step would be. So thank you again, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday.